There's something really charming about this show. There's also something that's not so charming about it. I had no firm expectations for this show other than I had seen several other channels post videos about how much of an underrated gem it was. And so I tried it. And honestly, I loved the first episode of Shy. I genuinely thought it was fantastic. A fresh young hero grappling with the weight of responsibility placed upon her by the powers she wields and the guilt of not being able to save someone from harm, all while handling street-level events like theme park mishaps and people trapped in burning buildings. It's a kind of return to the foundational parts of being a superhero I've been looking for in a show. But it's been a roller coaster after that. Episode 2 and 3 didn't fill me with the same sort of excitement, and Episode 4 had a flash of that same thing, but was ultimately suffering from the same issues I was looking at in Episode 2 and 3. And that would be that the show is just too damn touchy-feely, in a very shoujo way. Honestly, all the chatter about heart and passion and such just kind of poured cold water on my passion for this show. If I had to describe how I feel about it, I'd say it would be better off being a magical girl series. Which isn't bad per se, but it's just not gonna do well in a genre that doesn't cater well to that kind of stuff. I mean, the story is all about a 14-year-old girl turned superhero, Teru Momijiyama, and her journey as a hero, as well as the battle against the forces of evil who would like to draw out the darkest parts of human nature. That said, the threefold problem of the overly touchy-feely aspects of the story, the emphasis on heart powers, and the downright abuse of tropes makes this show feel like a failure to deliver on what potential it had. The first I've already brought up. There's this really focused aspect of the plot that deals with a boatload of emotional talk that reeks of shoujo energy. Now, I do like a good, moving, emotional scene, but when I think of superhero stories, I don't think of people sitting there talking about their feelings for 3/4 of an episode. Look, even the most manly man stories in the collection of things I have read have some deep and moving scenes that really hit you in the feels. And that's a powerful aspect of good writing to utilize. However, what I'm talking about here is the fundamental difference between a story meant for a male audience and a story meant for a female audience. It's less focused on the actions taken and the conflict in the plot, and more so on the emotions involved in all of it. And whether that's good or bad comes entirely down to taste. The second part is what really makes me think this should have been a magical girl series: the importance of the heart to every aspect of the plot. Every single part of the story, be it the plot or powers, is all focused on the idea of the human heart and its many complications. And that is part of the reason it ends up being so touchy-feely overall. But even in dialogue, it feels like the word heart is overused. The powers the heroes wield depend on how much they believe in themselves and are dictated by, you guessed it, their heart. And if you ask me, the heart talk gets old about as fast as Naruto saying, "Believe it." Because this is such a central part of the plot, it's hard to extract it from the story, and I think that makes it a critical flaw. Because it's just not all that interesting to sit there and listen to people talk about hearts and emotions and feelings in a superhero show. And the final problem is one that just feels creatively lazy to me: the tropishness of characters. Really, a drunk Russian hero. Could you not come up with something better? How old is that joke? A shy, skittish Japanese character who's given incredible power? Gee, it's almost like I've seen that somewhere before. Teru doesn't come off as any different from the normal shy girl trope in any meaningful way. She lacks something truly remarkable as a protagonist that sets her apart from the archetype she's built off of. It tries to make her out to be the incredibly empathetic but reserved type, but it's not something that works out for me in this superhero setting. Complaints aside, I don't think it's absolutely horrible or deserves the panning it got on sites like MyAnimeList. It is, for what it's worth, competently written, and does carry a decent story, even if it's one that I don't care for. And as I said, it occasionally hits me with something I really love, like the whole battle between Shy and Stardust to determine whether Shy would be allowed to continue as a hero. It's one of those great moments of tough love where Stardust has to beat some backbone into the young hero in order to make sure she's ready for future battles. And the street-level heroism is the kind of stuff I really miss out of the superhero genre at large. I like the idea of Teru having to grow out of her own struggles to become the kind of hero people around her need her to be. And I love the idea of her having to find her own way of coming to terms with the weight of that responsibility and the guilt associated with failure. All of these aspects are things that make me really want to like this series. However, I try to be as honest with my own assessments on these things as I can, and in the theme of this show, my heart is telling me that it's just not the greatest thing out there. I think it deserves an honest 7 out of 10. Animation is good, and there are plenty of elements I like about it, which makes it watchable and entertaining. However, I think it has some fundamentally mismatched concepts in its writing style and genre, which leads to a lot of things that just don't do it for me. In the end, while I lean more towards liking it, it still leaves me conflicted on whether or not I want to continue watching it, considering I'm quickly losing faith in the idea that I'll be seeing any more of the aspects that I liked out of it. But that's about enough out of me. If you enjoyed this, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, because those simple but free actions really do help me. If you have any thoughts of your own, leave them down in the comments. I hope to see you in the next one. Later.